What's going on, everyone, and happy Jerome Powell Day to you all. Looking at the market today, it fell 3 times more than its average red day today, and I'll tell you, we saw a good amount of selling pressure to the likes of which we haven't seen in quite a while. So in this video, we're going to explain what is going on with the market right now, why the market is moving in ways it hasn't in a long time, and what to watch out for tomorrow and the rest of the week. Things are heating up, and that's all you can ask for as a short-term trader. The more volatile and the more big moves we see, the more opportunities that there are in the market. So stick with us, and Tom, let's get right into today's episode.
Yeah, even some of these big stocks like Microsoft that reported earnings yesterday started really tanking down towards those lows of after hours yesterday, and tomorrow might finally break some big supports as this market is kind of digesting the news with Jerome Powell today. And Mike, whenever we go over to the heat map, it looks pretty rough. I mean, it's pretty rare that we see this many green or this many red stocks on the map. Of course, there were a couple up stocks that were green, like Qualcomm, Boeing, a couple others. But at the end of the day, almost all the big tech stocks are red. Even oil stocks were red. So this is mainly coming off the move from Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve's interest rate decision. And surprise, surprise, they came in with a pause. We talked about this yesterday. Now, the thing that people might not have been expecting, Mike, is that they indicated that they're not ready to start cutting interest rates quite yet. And guess what? We talked about that a ton over the past few days, that March might start to sway more towards a pause. And that is the case. For a little while, March was being priced in as a cut. Now with today and them indicating that they're not quite ready to start the cuts, it's coming in at a pause again. So looks like they're going to be holding rates steady for longer, which I think is great because inflation is not near that 2% goal yet. And it might never get to 2%, but it definitely has to get lower than it is now.
Exactly. So I guess in the simplest terms possible, everyone was getting a little bit too greedy with the market and these potential rate cuts, and a lot of people were really hoping for the Federal Reserve to start to lower rates again back in March. And Jerome Powell basically came out today and he said, I'm going to be straight up with you guys, like, it's probably not going to happen, and the market's like, what do you mean? Like, and it didn't really take it too well, but like Tom said, it's kind of a good thing in the grand scheme of things because inflation, there's still a lot more work to do before we could go ahead and start cutting rates this soon. But, like we said, the market didn't really like this reaction too much in the short term, but it's not necessarily a bad thing, especially given how much the market is up in the grand scheme of things. The market is still extremely close to all-time highs, and it would be a completely different story if, the market was still at like 400 on the SPY.
Yeah, and at the beginning of this year, we were talking about the SPY needs to break 480 to hit all-time highs. It's still above 480 right now. So, we're still way above levels that we were to start the year. So, this is just a slight little pullback that's happening. But the big worry here is this going to start to snowball? And is this going to cause more of a downtrend? There's a lot of stocks that are very overextended right now, like Microsoft, Nvidia, even Netflix with its recent earnings has been pushing a lot higher. If these stocks and these supports start to give out with this bad news here, and as the market starts to maybe price in more of a pause, then I think that we might start to see a little bit of a short-term downtrend, and we might move down to SPY, down to that 480 support over the next few days, and I'll definitely have that on watch. And you can see that this big level here that we bounced at today, 483, is huge as well. There's been a lot of hits on that level, so I'm going to have that on watch for tomorrow. But man, Mike, if this snowballs and the stock market starts falling, there's going to be great opportunities out there with UVXY and others, which did very well today, up 7%.
No doubt. And I can definitely see the market pulling back a little bit more in the short term. And I know some people aren't going to want to hear that, but it's definitely what I see, especially given the way some of these big tech stocks are moving off of earnings. I mean, Tom, Google is down by 7.5% today. AMD also took a pretty big hit. Microsoft's down as well. Tesla's down a decent amount overall. Apple's been, relatively slow too. So it's like when you have big tech stocks like that moving in ways that they are, it is so hard for the market to rise. The only exception I'll say with this statement is if the earnings come in very strong to end the week with Apple, Amazon, and Meta all three of those stocks report in after hours tomorrow. If they end up being great reports, then, I'd be willing to change my mind. But for the short term, I'm definitely a little bit skeptical.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that they're going to have great reports. Apple's been having they're on kind of a bad streak right now with their earnings overall and their revenue. And, people keep citing iPhone declines and sales in China are declining and everything like that with Apple. And there's some news with their headsets where they actually sold out. And I know that these headsets cost like $3,500. And I know a lot of people were complaining about it, but it looks like they ended up getting 200,000 pre-orders and they sold out. So I don't know. Maybe that'll end up impacting their earnings a little bit, or they'll talk about that at least. But Mike, I'm kind of worried for some of these earnings to end the week here. Meta is my one exception. I feel like they could still do well. And some of these other earnings were actually pretty good. Like Microsoft and Google actually had fairly good numbers, but just negative reactions. I wonder if that might be the case here too. Like Meta, they might report good numbers, but it might just not wow the market.
And that's the big risk, because these companies can report fine earnings, but if the stocks fall, the market doesn't really care. That's going to still put direct selling pressure onto the market. So I'm actually very glad you brought that up, and I think that's going to be very important that, of course, we'll cover in tomorrow's video. But for today, we do have to cover a couple more important things to be aware of for the market tomorrow. There is some initial jobless claims data coming out 1 hour before the market opens, and then there's some ISM data coming out around 10 a.m. Eastern, so 30 minutes after the market opens. And then there's some unemployment data on Friday before open, but we'll talk more about that tomorrow. But I just wanted everyone to be aware of this before we get into some setups. But we're all clear, Tom, so let's get right into the good stuff for today. A stock I'm watching pretty closely is UPS, and it's to the downside. They reported earnings this week, and for those of you who watched yesterday's video, I talked about this stock in a bearish way, and it had a great bearish day today. So there we go, but I could see it dropping more. I would like to just see the same level of price action persist, and as long as we continue to see, the stock constantly on that low of day and just weak price action overall, just like we've been seeing in the short term, I can definitely see this one falling more, but either way, I am still watching it to the downside.
Yeah, I like it quite a bit. A lot of these stocks have these nice after earnings continuations moves, and I think that UPS is a great contender for that, especially with those layoffs and everything that they're doing now. It's pretty rough for UPS in the short term. That daily chart looked rough too. With my first play, I'm going with Tesla. Also to the downside, and Tesla had a pretty rough day overall, down 2.2%. They tried to run up midday, but they ended up selling off. Now, if they run back under 185, which is a pretty key support, I am going to look at puts tomorrow. I think that they could continue down, given that they've been running down with their earnings lately. And then also, we're just seeing all these big tech stocks moving down too. So I think that'll just add to the selling pressure. So if we can break that 185 support, I'll look at puts. But keep in mind, guys, this is a quick in and out trade. I definitely don't mean to swing this or anything.
All right, sounds good. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is big bad Microsoft, the king of the SPY, to the downside. So this one reported earnings, and it has been relatively bearish in the short term. It got rejected big time off that 410 resistance, and it just fell like a brick today. I can see it falling more, though, because while the price action intraday was almost straight down, in the grand scheme of things, it's only down like 2.7% on the day, which is nothing. So assuming this bearish price action keeps up, I can definitely see it retesting like that 390 level in the short term.
Yeah, I could too, and I think that would be awesome for a play tomorrow down under support. I'm definitely going to keep my eyes on it. That's a big level from after hours last night. With my next play, I'm going with UVXY, Mike. I hinted at this one earlier, and with the market dropping in the short term, I think this could be a great hedge, and not even a hedge, even just a short-term play, but it could be a hedge if you're looking to hedge the markets a little bit. But I'm going to go ahead and wait for this one to break above 812 tomorrow. If we can break that in pre-market, or even if we start to see like SPY, Microsoft, and some of those bigger stocks out there breaking key supports, then I will also be looking at UVXY to the upside as I start to see that market sell off. So the big thing is identifying that market sell off with this one, but if it comes, this can have amazing moves. Like I said earlier, up 7.35% today, and you could also look at VXX, but it's just not going to have the same movement.
All right, good stuff, Tom. Well, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. And with the first one, we have Google to the downside.
Yeah, and shout out to the bot with Google today, too. Go ahead and wait around for that, guys. It's an awesome play. But with Google, go ahead and make them break under 139.80 tomorrow, just under that 140 support.
There we go. And why wait, Tom? We might as well show off the bot's play now. So check this out, guys. Our sniper bot crushed it with a Google put option today. The sniper bot called out the Google 142 strike puts at $164 each, and they popped all the way up to $265 by the time the market closed. Sniper bot did a phenomenal job with Google today, and it also did a very good job with Apple puts yesterday, and those went from 367 all the way up to 485. And then our SM bot has been going off too, Tom, in the profits channel. SM bot probably did even better than Sniper bot as it called out some MPC put options, and those popped up by 172% on the day. And it also called out Boeing call options, which popped up by 153% on the day. So if you want to trade with legit an army of bots, you want to chat with Tom and myself all day long, get access to the big money, multi-million dollar unusual options trades every single day before the market closes, and get access to our private events, definitely check out that first link in the description and the comments down below. We are having a live event tonight, so if you want in, join before 9 p.m. Eastern, but even if you don't make it by the cutoff time, we will also have a replays. But either way, if you're into short-term trading, the Stocked Up trading floor is the place to be, so come join us. But Tom, we should probably get back to the momentum plays. And with the next one, we have CRM to the downside.
Yeah, CRM right around 280, so if they can break under 280 even, then eye up those puts.
All right, and with the next one, we have Boeing for both directions.
Boeing had a great recovery day today. If they end up breaking above 214 tomorrow, just above the high of day, then go ahead and look at calls. But if they're able to fall back under 210, then look at puts back down. They've been having a lot of negative news lately, but the earnings kind of help them recover.
There we go. So we have the downside level for puts, and we have the upside level for calls, and that is for Boeing. Don't forget about the downside levels with CRM and Google. If any of these three stocks break the levels Tom listed, then we are watching them for plays tomorrow, but they have to break the levels Tom listed. For the downside plays, they have to break below it for puts, and then for the upside level, it has to break above that for calls. We're looking for a full-on breakout and to capitalize off of the imbalance of the short-term momentum. So keep a close eye on these three stocks for tomorrow. But Tom, let's get right into today's big money $800,000 trade of the day, and we are looking at ticker symbol XLF. So for those of you who don't know, XLF basically follows stocks in the financial sector like Berkshire, JP Morgan, Visa, MasterCard, Bank of America, stocks like that. And today we saw, we'll call it 800 grand going to the XLF 39 strike put options that expire on April 19th of 2024. It's been a little bit since we've seen a lot of put options get bought by the big money here, but these ones are in the money and they have a decent amount of time to them. In the event the market keeps moving like it did today, these can definitely pop to the upside in a major way. But either way, it's a very interesting trade, and I definitely like how it's like in the money because it just makes the option, easier to profit from, and then it also is just it makes for a higher quality option overall.
Yeah, and I would not think that they were shorting 39 puts, especially with the way that price action was today and considering what the Fed's talked about, right? Like keeping the rates higher for longer, that might actually start to have a negative effect on some of these banks, especially if we start to see yields pop up. What I will say is that the yields kind of fell down today, so I found that kind of interesting. But going over to the bank stocks, they all had a pretty rough day. Bank of America, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, they all started coming down off those recent highs. So if that continues in the short term, that will be awesome for XLF. And I think it's a very fun trade to follow, Mike. And it's kind of a play that's trying to snipe the top on this. And I like it that today is the day that they enter, too, with everything going on. Maybe they're seeing something with the market that we aren't.
Yeah, exactly. And, looking at the market right now, I'm just excited that we're seeing increased volatility because that's what's going to ultimately make for, some very exciting opportunities in the short term. Every now and then we get a Powell Day or FOMC event and the market doesn't do anything. And you're like sitting there at the end of the event like, what's next, But this event clearly isn't like that as the market moved a lot and we still have earnings and big tech stocks are just they're moving, right? Which is very, very good because that'll make for some awesome options trades going forward. So I'm super excited for that. And then another thing, kind of like you pointed out throughout multiple times in this video, is we're starting to see some the volatility indexes and volatility related plays like UVXY and VXX and, stocks like that start to move to the upside as well. So, with everything being said, whether it's the current market, whether it's the circus going on with the Fed, or whether it's earnings right now, there's a lot of things heating up, which is ultimately a very exciting thing.
It is, and I think that there's going to be so many opportunities here to the downside, so make sure you guys really check out those links down below for the Discord. With the way that those bots were today, Mike, as we start to see more selling pressure, it's just going to create more and more opportunities for those options, so check it out. There's going to be a lot of opportunities throughout the next few days and few weeks. I have a great feeling, and I hope the UVXY can get some good breakouts tomorrow so that people can capitalize on that too. But, for tomorrow, Mike, the big thing is really those earnings, right? Will Apple, Amazon, and Meta, will they continue to, showcase with these tech stocks as prowess? But I don't think that they will. I think that they'll start to show some shakiness. Apple's been kind of rough lately. A lot of these stocks are very high. I'm even interested in Peloton in pre-market, Mike. I know Peloton had that deal at TikTok a while ago, and if this one ends up popping, that might even be a fun one for a continuation play.
No doubt, and kind of like what you hinted at with earnings. Apple, Amazon, and Meta, all eyes are on you. It's do or die. It's either hold your ground or send the market spiraling down because, they just have that much of an influence on the market. So very interesting. And then one last thing that we have to cover is this interesting stat that we came across today that basically shows what the market does after it moves to the upside in a major way over the course of just 3 months. Every single green diamond you see on the chart below represents when the market popped up by 17% or more in a 3-month time span. Generally speaking, this is a pretty bullish sign where the following 12 months after this signal results in a positive market 80% of the time, and the median return is 16.2%, which is really good. However, in the short term, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. It only ends up being positive around 56% of the time over the course of 1 month. So basically what this means is overall, the market is set to do good things for many different reasons, but it can definitely get a little bit shaky in the short term.
It's pretty crazy. The short term, it's almost 50-50, and then on the 12-month, it's 80% of the time the market goes higher. I would have thought that, given a 17% run, that there would have been more pullbacks overall over a 12-month span from then, especially considering the overall percentage that it ends up rising. So I found that extremely interesting, Mike. But yeah, it's cool, though, that for the next month, it's kind of 50-50. So I'm going to be very careful with the market here, especially with what's going on overall. And the big thing is, are we going to continue to see those rate cuts being priced in for May instead of March? I think that it's going to stay like this for a little while, and that inflation rate shot up last time, so all eyes are going to be on inflation over the next month too.
You know it. And again, come join us in the Stocked Up trading floor. Things are going to heat up, and they are heating up, and the bots have been on fire lately. So come join us, and we want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Abundant, who has been crushing it lately and is also pretty new to the chat. So keep up the great work, Abundant, and let's keep seeing those profit screenshots. Besides that, thank you guys so much for watching, and let's end this week on a green note.